What is going on, Jet fans? Matt O'Leary back with another video. Minicamp week. We are continuing on through the off-season programs. We had OTAs. Those are done. This week, starting tomorrow, is Jets minicamp, and then you get a break until training camp begins at the end of July. So the last little look that we get at the New York Jets before a little bit of a break here in this summer. The first thing that I wanted to get into, we're just going to do storylines and things to watch for the New York Jets and minicamp, is there's no holdouts this year. No one's missing it. The starting quarterback is not abroad on some trip. The edge rusher that you traded for that needed a new contract that you didn't give a new contract to is not holding out. Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson, who are in the middle of contract negotiations, will be there. That's all a plus. Vibes significantly better. And look, I know, like Aaron Rodgers missing, the mini camp practices wasn't a huge deal. Hassan Reddick holding out was more annoying to me because, that contract discussion was just, that one was really frustrating. But moral of the story, the Jets will have 100% attendance. That's exciting. That's something I'm looking forward to, and just continuing to see what Aaron Glenn and his team looks like in 2025. Today's video is brought to you by Lofi, the best nicotine pouches on the market. Want to ditch the dipping tobacco? Do what I did. Switch to Lofi, which is 100% pure nicotine and always tobacco free. My two favorite flavors are the wintergreen and the mint. When I feel a midday slump coming on is usually when I like to toss one in. So let's level up your nicotine routine with Lofi. Go to lucy.co/O'Leary and use promo code O'Leary to get 20% off your first order. Lofi has a 30-day refund policy, so if you change your mind or decide it's not for you, that's quite okay. And here comes the fine print. Lofi products are only for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. Warning, this product contains nicotine, and nicotine is an addictive chemical. Something that I'll be looking forward to is watching the rookies. Mason Taylor has stood out, I think, so far, and I expect him to be a big part of the offense this year. His pass catching has been impressive. You also had Aaron Glenn call out his blocking during OTAs.
I think he's been doing an outstanding job in that aspect. And it's not just the pass catching, because that's what you guys see, and that's what you guys really think it's an moment. But it's the blocking, to me, is what really gets me going. Now, because I know what he can do in the passing game. But for him to come out and do the things he's doing in the run game, even though you can't do a lot of running because it's not a physical part of the season, but him understanding exactly what he's supposed to do and the position, the body language, the leverage, all those things. I really love that when it comes to the run game.
He's the front runner to be the starting tight end. It would be rather shocking if either Stone Smart or Jeremy Ruckert were the starter. Mason Taylor, drafted in the second round, and has stood out as a positive, and that's something that I would expect to continue. But it doesn't really stop there. Armand Membu has been getting starting reps at right tackle. Fully expect him to be the starting right tackle this year. But what about some of the day three guys? Arian Smith during OTAs has been showing off the speed. Let's see if that continues. I would expect it to. Really, the big thing for Arian Smith is seeing if the play that he showed so far carries over when the pads go on and when things get a little bit more physical. And then how about Malachi Moore? He had a big play in OTAs, I believe a pick six. He definitely intercepted a pass, but I believe it was a pick six. Malachi Moore roped one in. Can he fight for the strong safety spot? Andre Sisco is going to be the starting free safety. Are they going to go Tony Adams? Are they going to go Malachi Moore? Do they go a completely other direction? TBD, but looking for some of the rookies that the New York Jets drafted and seeing how they're performing is something I think we should be keeping a close eye on. How about the defensive line? We'll take a look at edge and interior defensive line. Starting with edge, Jermaine Johnson is working his way back. He's not going to be participating in the drills. I'm sure he'll be out there working on his own or with a trainer. That's kind of been the story for him so far. But who is stepping up as the edge depth? You have Michael Clemens, Rashad Weaver, Eric Watts, and Tyler Barron are some of the names to watch. Tyler Barron is a rookie. Can he kind of take over that Michael Clemens role as the early down run stopping guy? I'm hoping so. I know they traded up for Tyler Barron in the NFL draft. And for Michael Clemens, I think that it's kind of just run its course. Eric Watts was an intriguing UDFA from a year ago. And Rashad Weaver, bounced around the league a little bit, but stood out a little bit in OTAs, made a couple plays, in the first session in OTAs. And again, you're kind of just looking to see, do these OTAs performances continue to the next step, which is now minicamp? And then does that continue into training camp? And what does the depth kind of look like at that spot? On the interior defensive line, is it going to be Byron Cowart, who stood out again? That was kind of the guy next to Quinnen Williams who was making the most plays. Other names to watch: Derek Nottie, Leonard Taylor. Nottie, a little bit more of an interior defensive, run stopping guy. He came over from the Kansas City Chiefs in free agency. Leonard Taylor, UDFA, that excited a lot of Jet fans a year ago, was someone who was projected to go as like a 4th round pick. Instead goes undrafted. The Jets sign him. He has a really good summer. A couple of standout notes from last year. Didn't play a ton, but is he going to continue to develop? That's kind of what I'm looking for. Now, something I've discussed a bunch is guys who were favorites of the last regime. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to translate and go, to this new one with Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji. They're not Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas. They might feel very different about these guys. So, for example, Leonard Taylor, UDFA, that Saleh and Douglas really liked. Maybe they don't feel the same way. Same thing with guys like Xavier Gipson and Malachi Corley. And, they answered that very quickly on Jamie Sherwood. He got a contract extension, so they clearly liked him. You just don't know. And now's the time we're going to see, okay, is Leonard Taylor running with the 1s, the 2s? Where's he at right now? And again, he had a really good summer a year ago, so want to see if he's building off of that and maybe can carve out a bigger role for himself. And the last one for me is the fake, I'm calling it fake, center competition. Is Josh Myers getting more first-team reps? He was initially getting first-team reps in OTAs. I think that's kind of changed towards the end of OTAs. Joe Timmon getting more run. I would imagine Joe Timmons the starting center this year. Now, what would be interesting is I think if you were to see an injury at guard, obviously don't want to see any injuries, but if there were an injury to either John Simpson or Elijah Vera Tucker, what the Jets could do then is plug Josh Myers in at center and have Joe Tippmann play either guard spot in a pinch. That's something that they could do. But I'm not, as I've expressed in other videos, I'm not a fan of having Josh Myers be the starter and having Joe Tippmann be a backup in any capacity. So those are really what I'm looking for. But let me know what you're looking for in minicamp down below in the comments. I'm Matt O'Leary. Thanks you so much for hanging out, and I'll catch you next time.